Independence Day boat trip Nolan Wells and his friends took to Mississippi's Horn Island. As part of a records request to the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, NBC News obtained GPS information for the boat. The records show it departed from a private boat launch at 9:56 a.m., arriving at the island by 11:14 and staying there until 4:30 p.m. In audio of a call around that time to a private towing company obtained from the same records request, the caller explains a mechanical issue with the boat.
We're sinking. Can you all please come?
The towing company dispatched reaching out to a local captain for help.
It sounds like a bunch of kids on board on Horn Island, and he's saying the boat is sinking. He wants you guys to go out there and unpump the boat and then tow it in.
Records then show the boat being towed slowly from about 4:31 until 5:25 before getting back to normal speed. The boat then returned to its original location at 5:44 without Nolan Wells. Melissa Miller was at Horn Island on the 4th. She says there were hundreds of boaters there for the holiday.
It's just a big community. Everyone goes out there and, has a good time.
She also says it's normal to leave cell phones on boats and that currents at the northwest corner of the island can be treacherous.
Like you can go out there just innocently and next thing you know, the water's, like kind of sucking you in, throwing you back out.
After speaking with one of the friends on the boat, Nolan's concerned mother reported him missing to police.
Police reported 8-year-old son, Nolan Wells, missing backseat at 3 on Horn Island.
His body was found on July 6th. His mother struggling as she plans his funeral, posting on Facebook,
"This loss, this grief, this pain, it's different. It's insurmountable."
Now, one parent has also posted that some of Nolan's friends have been getting threatening messages. The FBI does confirm that it is investigating threats connected to this case, all while Nolan's mother is encouraging people to stay peaceful as she plans to hold his funeral next week.
An emergency call made from the boat when it left the island around 4:30 p.m. without Wells, according to friends. The 23-foot boat had 7 people on board, according to the caller, who said the boat was taking on water and sinking.
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can you all please come?
GPS records show the boat did make it back to the mainland safely that evening. Wells' body, meanwhile, was found 2 days later.
We're sinking. Can you all please come?
And is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's on board.
So if you haven't heard by now, new emergency audio and GPS tracking data have been released in the Nolan Wells case. And this is the strongest evidence yet supporting the timeline given by the 3 friends, which some people somehow take this the other way around and think there's something nefarious that this information points to. Now, CBS obtained actual distress call made from July 4th. In the call, you can hear them saying, "Can you all please come?" The dispatcher then asks whether everyone currently is accounted for and in good health. The caller says yes. The GPS timeline tracking data reportedly shows the boat leaving Horn Island at approximately 4:31 p.m. That departure time matches the timeline previously given by the friends. Their explanation was that the boat was taking on water and the bilge pump had stopped working. According to their account, Nolan Wells decided to remain on the island and catch another boat. So far, I don't think there's evidence yet of anything nefarious. I think people are pushing that because that's what gets the views and people love, I guess, that kind of stuff. Should be fully investigated. It's a horrible tragedy. But I don't think this is going to be what people are claiming it is, that it's a race thing or that one of those friends of his that came with him initially when they all came together on the boat killed him and now they're trying to cover something up. I don't know what happened to him, but I don't think it's what everybody's pointing it out to be, or this race thing, that it was a racial thing when nobody even cared about that over there. They were all friends. You guys comment below.
A new theory is spreading online about Nolan Wells' final hours. But is it real or just another rumor? People are now speculating that Nolan may have made it back to shore and possibly attended a July 4th pool party. The speculation began after a photo appeared online that allegedly showed Nolan at a land-based party around 1 a.m. on July 5th. If true, this would challenge the earlier timeline that Nolan was last seen on Horn Island before disappearing. One person claiming to have attended the party said Nolan got into an argument with several people after someone allegedly took his phone. The same person claimed claimed Nolan or just
Update regarding the Nolan Wells case. Governor Tate Reeves spoke for the first time about the investigation. He said, "I personally know Sheriff John Ledbetter from Jackson County very well. I have not personally spoken to him, but I have full confidence that he is going to do his job. What I will simply say is I don't know all the details. I don't know all of the facts surrounding the case. I have yet to see a fact or a piece of evidence that suggests any foul play. But if there is, I feel confident that the Sheriff's Office and the District Attorney's Office, the members at the Department of Public Safety that deal with these crimes, if there had been, they will find it and they will do what is necessary." Once the Jackson County Sheriff's Office investigation into Nolan's death is complete, the District Attorney's Office will present the case to a grand jury. That is standard procedure for most unnatural or suspicious deaths in Jackson County.
Every time I check my phone, these Nolan Wells updates get more unpredictable. Apparently, the evidence that they claim Nolan Wells' family and his team of attorneys didn't have, the race hustling grifters, well, apparently that evidence could be going to a grand jury soon to secure indictments. And then on the other hand, Nolan Wells' friends just keep coming out of the woodworks, and each friend that comes out is probably worse than the other. Javon, for all intents and purposes, was really great friends with Nolan. We expected you to be next to the family during his press conference trying to seek justice. But instead, Javon is on TMZ trying to contradict everything the parents and Benjamin Crump are saying, and I'm asking him why.
Javon, have you seen the video that's been going around social media where people think that they're hearing an argument? Is that Nolan in the video?
In that video, I feel like the voices are too clear, like from the side. It's too clear for it to be that far away, for it to be Nolan arguing. And then also that altercation, it sounds just like my other friend that got into the altercation on the boat. And they were trying to, as he was in the altercation, I was calming him down. They were trying to get him out off the island. They were trying to get him back to land because he was just losing it.
That's the video I'm referring to. That's me yelling.
Shepard says he returned to the mainland later that afternoon while Wells stayed behind on Horn Island with a girl he had met that day.
Now the claim is he left later in the afternoon with the other white boys, and they asked Nolan if he was coming, and Nolan told them he was going to stay behind to talk to Katie. That's what Tristan is saying. But here's the problem with that. Tristan has admitted that was quote unquote him yelling, right? Well, Javon just says Tristan was so hostile. He was moving so irate and so crazy, they had to remove him from the island. So if Tristan was removed from the island earlier in the day, then where is this nonsense that Tristan coming from that he was present and that Nolan told him later in the afternoon, he was going to stay behind on the island to talk to Katie? Now, Nolan Wells' family, Benjamin Crump, and attorneys, they met up with the DA. And apparently the DA is talking about...
She shared with the family that there will be a grand jury that she will turn this case over to once they have collected all the information and finished their investigation.
Y'all let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think about this, okay? Nolan Wells' parents receive a warning from the former Mississippi judge after the GPS data and the audio from the boat got released. Much like everything else that have came out regarding Nolan Wells, each and every detail just leaves us with more questions. And the GPS data and the audio from the boat is no different. The audio and GPS data created more questions for us than answered questions for us.
Now listen to Nolan Wells' mom, and I'm gonna say this because with all due respect, she lost her baby. I give them grace in this time. I don't like that they work with Benjamin Crump because he's a crook, in my opinion. He don't do nothing but race hustle people. That man is not even a criminal law attorney. So you ain't gonna get no justice in the criminal justice system because that's not what he's there for. And if your baby ain't died, potentially at the hands of white people, they don't care about your baby. Benjamin Crump ain't gonna be at a press conference holding your hand with your husband's hand, talking about our babies. They don't care about the babies unless there's money involved. I'm telling you. But put all that aside. Here's from his mom. She wanted to thank people that have been supportive of her son. I just wish that they would never work with Benjamin Crump now. They corrupt everything they touch, in my opinion. Roll the clip.
Hey, Boo Bears. I know you probably did not expect to see me, but I had to come on because I wanted to acknowledge all of your love, your support, your kindness that you guys have been showing me. I wanted to, answer each and every one of you, and I probably will at some point. I will at some point, but right now it's just Everything is so heavy. Everything is so heavy. Just been going through the motions. You know, I'm a healthcare provider, so I talk about grief a lot. And now to be on the other side of this is, it's a lot. So I lost my mom a few years ago, and that was hard. This loss, this grief, this pain, it's different. It's insurmountable. And then it's like you get these flood of emotions all at different times, and grief is so multi-layered. You know, one second I might be okay and I can talk about things and I can listen to his stories, and then the next minute I am falling apart and I feel like I can't breathe and I feel like there is an elephant just sitting on my chest. But, you know, I know this is a process. I have a wonderful support system. I have my faith in God, which I've been leaning heavy into. But I just wanted to let you guys know that I see you. I love you. I'm thankful for all of you. And I'm so sorry that I hadn't been able to reply. I don't know exactly when again I'll post. For some reason, it does help. And I know if Nolan was here, he'd be like, Mom, you know, just keep talking to the people, keep telling my story, keep telling your story. So that is going to be my plan. Again, thank you all so much. I love you, and I will talk to you later. Bye.
All right, there's a lot of things I want to say, but I'm going to reserve my opinions until later. But I will say, I am frustrated that this had to be about race. I just don't see any connection to it. And after people have already come out, the coach, people have already been on the news saying, this is not, y'all making this out to be the deep South in the 30s, in the 1800s, where y'all acting as if there's this crazy racial tension. And I have not heard anybody that live in this area know anything about this area that say that there's any racial tension in this place. The black coach said it wasn't nothing. But why is the Benjamin Crump crowd pushing it so hard? I'm telling you, man, I'm gonna go off if I find out that these people been grifting. I'm not talking about the parents. I don't want to. The parents, they grieving, and I feel like these race hustlers take advantage of grieving families. So if I find out that Benjamin Crump them done lied about this stuff, done made up stuff, done had access to evidence that they refused to see, or they refuse to communicate with people, because to be honest, if you want justice for Nolan Wells, you better be calling and communicating with everybody involved.
Breaking news, we now have audio of Nolan Wells' friends calling 911 for a sinking boat and a better timeline. Here's the full timeline of events that we now know based on GPS, the phone call, and other things. At 9:56 a.m. on July 4th, the boat leaves its private dock and heads towards Horn Island. At 11:14 a.m., the boat then arrives at Horn Island. This typically takes about an hour to an hour and a half. It took the boat an hour and 18 minutes. Then at 3 p.m., Nolan was last seen on Horn Island. At 4 o'clock, the boat then sends in a mayday call due to them taking on water. The caller then states to authorities, quote, "Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn and our bilge pump stopped working. I want to get this boat unsunk and towed back." Continuing by saying, quote, "We're sinking. Can you all please come?" The operator then states, quote, "And is everyone on board in good health otherwise?" Caller states, quote, yeah, everybody's on board." Though the Jackson County Sheriff's Office confirmed that Nolan was not on board the boat when it made it back to land, they have not been able to confirm if he was on board the boat when the mayday call was made. During the call, they stated that there were 7 people currently on board the boat when it started sinking. Then at 4:31 p.m., they leave Horn Island. Then at 5:44 p.m., the boat arrives back to the private dock it initially launched from. At 5:52, it then leaves that dock and goes inland towards Fort Bayou. At 6:06 p.m., it is then back to the departure dock. Then at 7:19 p.m., it travels back to the Fort Bayou launch, where it is then pulled out of the water and towed on land back to the owner's home. For them to travel from the private dock to Horn Island, it would typically take about an hour to an hour and a half. It took the boat an hour and 18 minutes. When they left Horn Island and went back to the private dock, it would also have taken about an hour to an hour and a half. It took them an hour and 13 minutes. Then from the private dock to Fort Bayou would take about 15 to 20 minutes. It took them about 8. However, when they left the bayou and went back to the dock, it took them 14 minutes. Then to get from the private dock to the Fort Bayou boat launch, it should take about 15 to 25 minutes. It took them an hour and 13 minutes. The private dock is at a home, and they could have gone inside of the home and used the restroom or other things during that unaccounted for hour. At this time, there are no autopsy results and no toxicology results back from the private autopsy or from the state. Additionally, you may recall earlier this week that there was a press conference held that stated the case will go to a grand jury after the police investigation is through. A grand jury is made up of a specific amount of peers that will decide if there is enough probable cause in order to charge someone with a felony.
What I find interesting is that we are seeing a fast federal response to threats being made to people, individuals involved with this case, but we are not seeing the same response to the question that we are all asking. What happened to Nolan? How did this 18-year-old black child end up dead on the 4th of July in a group of white friends? This is the pattern that we need to continue to call out and recognize when we see the lack of urgency when it comes to determining what happened when you see black and brown children show up dead, but more of a sense of urgency to find out who is threatening people that are directly involved with this case. It is the same pattern that we see in the usage of language such as no foul play suspected. It's used fast, it's used confidently. And we know that it's used as a way to shut us up, as a way to minimize the questions being asked so that maybe that we will let it go. Maybe it can get swept under the rug and maybe the people involved or directly responsible can avoid accountability altogether. I don't believe that we can expect real justice until we are open and honest and leaving race on the table because we live in a racialized society, because we need to be using our discernment and our pattern recognition to identify that this keeps happening and that it's different outcomes when the victim is of a certain color. Who we see the urgency going towards, the energy and the sympathy going towards, how fast we see justice happen for some and how fast we see convictions happen for others. The math is not mathing and we are being gaslit into believing that we should not even be asking questions in the first place. So while the FBI investigates in interstate threats, which is a vague statement on purpose, interstate threats being made against individuals involved with this case, we are still left with the burning question, what happened to Nolan? And if these so-called friends are innocent, then why did their behavior not align with people who are innocent? I think the fact that we are still waiting on answers to what happened to Nolan really shows the larger problem we have in this country when it comes to suspicious and violent or malevolent disappearances and murders and dismemberments and hangings and all kinds of things that happen to black and brown people, black children, black people, especially when it comes to being in groups of white people. And I know there's people that are going to say that this attack on Nolan, this murder of Nolan or whatever, leaving Nolan behind, whatever happened that led to Nolan no longer being with us, there will be people that will say this was not racially motivated. Those were his friends. If we take that and we run with it, we still have to acknowledge the fact that the handling of this case is very much so racially motivated. And that is still a problem. Because you and I both know that if that boy that showed up dead or did not turn up back with his group of friends had been a white boy in a group of black boys, he would be justified and those boys would be in jail and questions would be asked after the fact. And if you say that anything different would happen, you are ignorant on purpose.
Y'all had a long week, but I promised y'all I was going to keep Nolan Wells in the ether, so I'm going to do a video. What I'm thinking today is that yesterday they had the GPS of the boat was released, which loosely corroborates what the boys on the boat said. They left at the island, they went back to shore. Also, they released a call where they called someone for help because they're both taking on water. Those two pieces of evidence were released, okay? Those two pieces of evidence that seem to corroborate their story were released to the public, okay? Now, my question is, I'm a defense lawyer, so whenever I see someone assert a fact, I am going to try to corroborate it. I don't take nothing at face value. If the cops say, I saw your client run out the store, I want the store's video footage so I can see what I know. I'm not about to take your word for it. So if you say your boat took on water, I want to see your boat. Where's your boat? I want to see it. Was it fixed? Was there a mechanic involved? I don't know boats. Do boats have mechanics? I don't know. But I want to see the boat. Have y'all looked at the boat? Y'all checked it out? Because just because you say my boat's taking on water doesn't mean it's taking on water. I can lay in my backyard and say, there's an intruder and be by my fucking self. Like, you can say whatever you want to say. So I wonder, have they been connecting the dots and like corroborating these assessments, these assertions?
Wait, so law enforcement, Ocean Springs, handling the Nolan Wells case, basically just said, we got something to hide. And let me explain. Now, everybody knows that there is a autopsy, independent autopsy being done, and the one with the law enforcement over there in Ocean Springs. Well, it's pretty much common knowledge. Everybody is saying that the examiner, the medical examiner for law enforcement has been caught in playing games with autopsy and all that before. And now, all of a sudden, they are not going to put out the autopsy until Nolan Wells' family puts out the independent autopsy. But there's a reason for it. Follow me. This is crazy. There are so many people calling in talking about rugs and drinking involved and so many different stories. If they were just going to put out a regular, honest autopsy, they would just drop it. Who cares what the independents say? If you're doing an official, real autopsy, go with it. But the fact that you sitting back and like, oh, I'm not gonna drop it until they drop theirs, definitely says that y'all got something to hide, and I don't like it. Justin for Nolan Wells.
So the news is moving incredibly fast on this, so by the time this video comes out, there may have been some updates to this news. But let's once again talk about the case of Nolan Xavier Wells. With one of the moms, or stepmoms of one of the friends. And when I say friends, it's just a category so that you guys know what I'm talking about. I don't actually think that he was their friend. Okay, so I'm getting a lot of those in the comments. He's not their friend. I know, but that's how we're categorizing them, right? The friends. Just put quotations on them. But one of the moms or stepmoms of the friends, a judge who had deleted her account initially and then brought it back once she realized that it didn't look good, and tried to make a statement about the situation and kind of tried to clear suspicion. It didn't work. It just created more questions than it did answers, especially since the timeline that was initially said was not necessarily the timeline that she was speaking about, which I'll get back to that later. But Ben Crump is not playing around. They flew the body of Nolan Wells to DC for an independent autopsy. We have not gotten the results of that autopsy yet, or at least not since time of filming. I did a lot of both research and a lot of both filming for my upcoming trip to Japan, so by the time this gets out, things may be different. But as of now, we haven't heard any news. Colin Kaepernick actually paid for this independent review and autopsy on Nolan Wells. So, W's Colin Kaepernick. Other prominent members of the Black community have also come out to help the Nolan Wells family. Tyler Perry and others have come out and donated money to the family so that they can focus on the case. Now, the Jackson County Sheriff's Department is saying that they are focusing their efforts on trying to get digital data. They are looking for raw digital data that you can trace the metadata back to not only the location, but the time itself. And they are specifically looking for unedited files. More on the Jackson County Sheriff's Department in a bit as well, because I don't think they are doing enough in this case.
Authorities initially said Nolan drowned, no foul play, case closed. Today, they're stating that they've received valuable information from the public, and this investigation is not going to be rushed. I wonder why the tone changed. Is it just that they want to have a more thorough investigation? Have they had a more productive tip? What is that? I wonder.
Speculation and mystery continues to surround the tragic death of Mississippi teen Nolan Wells. After he disappeared on a boat trip with friends, there are unverified photos and videos that have people questioning the account of Nolan's friends like Trayston Shepard, who defended himself on ABC News. Take a look.
We did no wrong here, and we don't understand how we're getting so much hate behind it. We all cared and loved Nolan, and nobody wanted to see Nolan die. Nobody wanted to see his life be taken so short.
The voice. So there's so much speculation about what happened. So what is happening? What's going on? Where's it headed? I'm going to ask you.
I think what's very important is that Ben Crump has been retained by the family and is conducting an independent investigation. So much so, because this happened in Mississippi. There are some racial...
And so guys, there's a lot of suspicious activities that are really happening behind this Nolan Wells story, and that makes that leaves us with more questions than answers, because we find out that there's some claims that there's some people who are trying to threaten some friends who are with with Nolans. That's the claim. Some people it's not true. I'm not to clarify. I'm not here to clarify, but it's being said that there's some threats that are being received. So this is something that is bringing more attention, more questions than answers when it comes to this particular case. Remember very well, we are trying to pray for justice, and so that this boy can get the justice that he deserves. The investigations are going on. I don't want to conclude anything, but I just want to ask you guys, what do you think about this particular scenario? What do you think? Because I brought you the latest update as of from yesterday. So let me know what you guys think about this particular video. I'll be happy to know your thoughts, and that's how we wrap in this particular end. Let me know what you think about this particular video. We just pray things go on well, and the justice be made. Okay, so this video, remember guys, is for educational and creating awareness, and that credits belongs to the original creators of these videos that you've just seen it in this particular video. So I'll be ending here guys. Kindly do subscribe to this amazing channel, and tell me what you think about this video in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.